Blizzard is ruining this class, and it's not okay. Now, I know I'm a little dramatic. I'm LB Ninja 7, your resident Mistweaver monk, but if you didn't know that, would you have known which class I was talking about? Most likely, yes, we're talking about Mistweaver monk, and they've made a couple changes, and they've made some announcements for change, but I just don't expect it to be enough. I don't think that we can get as fun as we have been in the past and get as good as we have been in the past with what has been announced so far. So in today's video, I kind of wanted to talk about how they are slowly killing off this class and its player base and making it less fun and less good, and what they can do to reverse that. So first up, I do want to talk about the biggest point. I just want to get it out of the way, and that is ancient teachings. So this, for those of you who don't know, is a buff that we apply to ourselves after casting one of our AoE heals, Essence Font, and from then our kicks will heal it'll heal a target, basically. So our Rising Sun kick, our Spinning Crane kick, and our Blackout kick will heal someone. Now, in Shadowlands, it was a legendary, and it was our go-to legendary, and it would heal for 2.5 times the amount of damage that either Blackout kick or Rising Sun kick dealt. Now, they made a really good PR move and added Spinning Crane kick to that, which is our AoE damage, and that made it good, so we weren't sacrificing healing to do damage. So that was a good move, but they made it all at a reduced effectiveness. So instead of doing 2.5 times the amount of healing, now they do 1.5 times the damage as healing. So if I Spinning Crane kick and hit a target for 3,000, it'll heal a couple people around me for 4.5 thousand healing. And it heals 3 targets, but Blackout kick and Rising Sun kick will heal for 1.5 times to 1 target. So basically it's less effective, but what I want to talk about with this point is what I like to call the regrowth effect. So what the regrowth effect is, that's just what I'm calling it, is if you look at regrowth, it is a spell that druids have. If you compare it to like flash heal or like a single target spot heal, like Holy Shock or something, Holy Shock and Flash Heal do all their healing at once. It is a true spot heal, whereas Regrowth does a large chunk of the healing up front and then tacks on an extra hot to it. Now, the idea is that Regrowth is a little bit more effective in most scenarios, especially in raid scenarios, because you're taking constant damage, and a lot of times if you spot heal someone, a lot of that spot heal will go to overhealing. So ideally, this should be a better case. However, when spot healing is your identity, it kind of loses effectiveness in that sense. So if you look at Holy Paladins, they are all spot healing basically, with one AoE heal now, but it's just their identity. It's what they're good at. If you look at Ancient Teachings, healing, when I kick something, when I Rising Sun kick and I hit for 20,000 and it heals someone to full, that is what makes Ancient Teachings good, is it's reliable, it will fully heal someone. But nowadays, they are giving it the regrowth effect. They're trying to take off some of that power up front and add it to a hot that is applied once you kick. So if you look at our talents, we have a lot of ways to, when we Rising Sun kick, we will be applying Renewing Mist, Enveloping Mist around. So ideally, it's better. It's supposed to be better, but it just does not play out the same. Ancient Teachings already had the problem of being less reliable of a spot heal because we don't get to control who it goes to. If we have a tank at 90% health and we have a DPS at 40% health, we Rising Sun kick, which is technically our biggest healing cooldown for a single target heal, and it goes into the tank. What good is that? That does not help. In fact, it sets us behind because now we've lost our biggest little spot heal. So already it was inconsistent, but now that it hits even less hard, it is less consistent. So let's go ahead and get off that topic and let's talk about Shadowlands. So where were we a couple months ago when Shadowlands was in effect? Well, first off, we had Fallen Order. We cannot make this video without talking about Fallen Order. Fallen Order was basically a healing cooldown. In Mythic Plus, it was so strong because you could go up to any pack, literally any pack or any boss damage, and it would keep the raid topped up or the group topped up. You spawned a bunch of monks and they would do some healing for you. It was easy in the sense that they did the healing, but there was a rotation that you had to do in order to get that cooldown reduced. Every crit that you got reduce the cooldown. So Fallen Order did take some mind, but honestly it was a very easy cooldown and very strong. Maybe a little too strong for how easy it was, but I feel like there could have been some changes to keep it implemented in Dragonflight. But so they basically just completely removed that coming into the new tier, which is good. I think removing some cooldowns, adding new ones in is good. I think that's a good way to do it. The problem is we didn't really get a cooldown to replace it, so we just lost one of our major cooldowns. And then also Ancient Teachings coming in, it feels a lot weaker. You just don't see health bars move like they used to, especially with the new stamina buff. I think if you're going to reduce our healing, you have to kind of give some of that back if you're going to increase everyone's health, just like they've been doing with druids. I mean, they just keep getting buffs, and it's kind of unreal, but that's for a different time. So I want to talk about how we have less cooldowns. So in a raid environment or in a Mythic Plus environment, we basically relied on revival. Revival more so in raid because it got more value because it's hitting 20 targets as opposed to 5. So we have a revival. We have either Chi-Ji or Yu'lon. Chi-Ji for Mythic Plus, Yu'lon for raid. And then we had Fallen Order. So 3 cooldowns. We can set up a little rotation where we have a cooldown about every minute, or a little less than that since we got that cooldown reduction. But now, since we only have 2 cooldowns, they've kind of diluted, or they've really diluted our cooldown pools. So revival is already kind of just very lackluster. I mean, it does a big chunk heal. I say big, but it's just an all at front. It basically regrowths everyone. If I'm going to talk about the regrowth effect, I think I can use that here. It heals everyone all up front, and then applies a little hot if you have a talent attached to that. So it's very boring. It does mass dispel, so that's kind of its main use in Mythic Plus, is when everyone takes a toxin or some cast goes off to apply a debuff. You usually use that to mass dispel, so already there, if you're having use a big healing cooldown as a mass dispel, that should tell you that it's an issue. But so that cooldown is kind of just boring. It's already seen as one of the worst throughput cooldowns in raid. But then you look at the other cooldown that we still have, which is either Chi-Ji or Yu'lon. Let's go ahead and get Yu'lon out of the way. Really, no one is playing Yu'lon right now since we've transferred from a verse crit focus, like we were with Ancient Teachings being our main throughput. We are now going into a haste mastery because we really want to abuse the punches and kicks, kicking up some gusts of mist with Chi-Ji. So Yu'lon is out of the way. So now we basically have, we are playing Revival and Chi-Ji, which Chi-Ji, oh man, I have a full video on Chi-Ji itself. It is a cooldown and a half, but it's really strong, but it's very high execution. I've been comparing us to Resto Druid, so let's keep that train rolling. So if we look at Chi-Ji versus Convoke the Spirits, for example, both can have a 1-minute cooldown. So Convoke does have a 1-minute cooldown, but Chi-Ji, you can take a node talent that gives you a 1-minute Chi-Ji. And if you compare those two at 1-minute cooldown, Convoke does all the healing. You press a button, it chooses which spells to cast. It has a little smartness to it where it'll choose some good heals like Wild Growth and a lot of regrowths. And it's a great spell, very low cooldown and lots of healing, and it does all the decision making for you. Whereas Chi-Ji does a lot of healing, but only if you execute it right. You have to, you basically, if you do the 1-minute cooldown, you have 12 seconds, where in that 12 seconds, every global cooldown has to be efficient and optimized. You have to press the exact buttons to get all the effectiveness. So it's going to be boosting all of your healing. You're going to have to see how many enveloping mists you can get out on your group. You're going to want to be kicking as much as possible. It's very high execution. And that's all Magical Christmas Land. If you have to come off melee, you are going to do 0 healing with this spell. Or with Chi-Ji, with this major cooldown, one of your only 2, you have to be able to hit the boss. And in this raid, there are a lot of moments where you're having to run away from the boss or run between bosses and adds. And so it just loses out to some other healing cooldowns. Also, it's a big ramp. I mean, you punch and kick and then get your first enveloping mist. That's only one target and a couple other targets that have your enveloping breath, that boosted healing. That does not count. It ramps up. It's just awkward and it's difficult. It's a bad cooldown to make Mistweavers have to go into, basically. And if you want any new players to come to Mistweaver, that is already just a major roadblock and a learning curve. It is the steepest learning curve, in my opinion, between all the healers. So already our cooldowns feel a lot worse. Even though Fallen Order was very easy, it did kind of break up the monotony of just Revival Chi-Ji, Revival Yu'lon. So that is good. Also, they've given us Phalanx Stomp, which in Mythic Plus is great. You're always doing AoE damage, and when your Blackout Kicks heal like basically 3 out of 5 targets, that's 60% of the healing that needs to be done. But when your Blackout Kicks heal 3 out of 20, that is like, what is that, 15% of the healing that needs to be done. So it does feel a lot worse, but it's pretty cool to be able to do a lot of damage with those AoE Blackout Kicks. So I do want to go ahead and get into that. With our cooldowns being diluted, they're kind of doing this thing that I've noticed they've done in Dragonflight where if you look at evokers are the best example. They have a lot of small cooldowns. So they have Dream Breath, 30-second cooldown, Spirit Bloom, 30-second cooldown, and then I forget what the big AoE circle's called. I know I play evoker, I should know that, but they have that is on basically a cooldown if you count the essence. If you count Essence. So they have a lot of small cooldowns, and that works for them because not all of them require them to be in melee. They just have to have 5 or 6 targets in front of them or near them. But it works because they're casters. I mean, they're very low execution. They just have to sit there and channel. They don't have to weave in and out of some of the melee mechanics that happen in Raid recently. So it works for casters. It just does not work for us. Having all these small little cooldowns like 1 minute Chi-Ji, Phalanx Stomp, it's just it doesn't really work. It's not as fluid, and we have to come out of melee, and it feels really bad. So now I do quickly want to talk about the good. I mean, this video has been very negative because Mistweaver has kind of dipped down a lot in terms of how people view them, which I didn't think was possible with how we were viewed in Shadowlands. But let's talk about the good. First up, I want to talk about Blackout Kick. So Rising Sun Kick took a big hit with that 100% reduced effectiveness from Ancient Teachings. I mean, that was our way to see a health bar jump from like 40, 30% all the way to 100. But Blackout Kick took that same nerf, but now, like I said earlier with Phalanx Stomp, we have AoE Blackout Kicks. We also have, while we're on our Phalanx, our Tiger Palm hits twice. So basically with 2 global cooldowns in the past, if I were to Tiger Palm and then Blackout Kick, I would Tiger Palm and then that 1 button of Blackout Kick would count as 2 Blackout Kicks because of that Ancient Teaching stack. So 2 global cooldowns, I would get 2 Blackout Kicks from. But now, if I'm on my Phalanx, I Tiger Palm, that's 2 Tiger Palms. And then I Blackout Kick, it's hitting 3 targets times 3 because we got 2 Tiger Palms in. So we now get 2 global cooldowns for 9 Blackout Kicks. It feels really good. And yeah, it's healing a lot less. But those extra Blackout Kicks make up for it. I mean, they compensate for it. Whereas that extra added Renewing Mist Rising Sun Kick does not. Blackout Kick is in a great spot. I would suggest that they keep Blackout Kick the same. I think it's fine. Maybe add its like single target healing. Maybe boost its single target Ancient Teachings if they were able to do that. Like Blackout Kick now heals for 200% effectiveness if only 1 target is hit or something. I don't know. That would feel good. It would make our single target Blackout Kicks feel better, feel as good as our AoE ones. But how they could bring Rising Sun Kick back is if they kept Blackout Kick the same, kept Spinning Crane Kick the same, I guess. It's okay. I mean, I kind of just don't even think about how it heals. Really, it's not that strong. But if they buffed Rising Sun Kick, so instead of it also doing 150, if it did 200, or if it went back to 250% of the damage done as healing, that would feel great. I mean, they recently did a buff similar with Spinning Crane Kick, where it went from 50% of the damage that it hits as healing to 60%. So now Blackout Kick and Rising Sun Kick do 150, but Spinning Crane Kick does 180% of the damage done as healing. Technically, it's across 3 targets, but they could do that with Spinning Crane or Rising Sun Kick. Just make it do more, make it be that big, juicy heal that it used to be. And it was so satisfying. It was basically the main reason to play Mistweaver. It was just fun. But Blackout Kick does feel good, and I feel like I should shout that out. So I do also want to talk about some announced changes. They are changing Revival. They're going to give it a buff for Mythic Plus. They basically said they're going to give it extra healing in Mythic Plus, which I think they did in the past. I think they did at the beginning of Shadowlands. Could be wrong there, but basically they think it's fine in Raid, which I guess so. I mean, it's still does a lot less healing than some of the other cooldowns, and has a weird healing profile, but it's still fine. It still, is high up there on the meters, and I guess it's fine in raid. Hits 20 targets, sure. Keep it the same. It's not the problem with the Mistweaver's cooldowns. But in Mythic Plus, it does feel underwhelming. I mentioned earlier that it is often used as just a mass dispel. And if you let one tick of a big toxin hit someone, it will heal them for that one tick and then mass dispel them. So that's basically its main use. And I think this is a good change. It'll give us more incentive to use it sparingly, or not sparingly, use it more liberally, I guess, instead of holding on to it for if we know there's a master spell coming up that we might need, or letting a cast go off just because we have revival up. So I think this is a great change. I think it's a step in the right direction. It just won't change how the class feels. We're still basically cooldown light, but I think it's a step in the right direction for sure. And then also they've announced some talent changes. So they're getting rid of that Bone Dust Brew corner on the bottom right of our Mistweaver talents, but they're replacing it with some cool older talents. I'll let you guys go read about them, or I might make a video about them in the future, especially when they come out. I definitely will. But basically, we're going to be storing up mist, like little clouds of mist everywhere, and then we'll be able to consume that for a big heal. So it'll be a nice little spot heal. It's basically only buffed healing, which I think they are under the impression that our complaints in Shadowlands were that we needed more damage options. We needed more ways to do damage. And they're like, okay, we gave them Zen Pulse. We gave them the little statue, but that's good. We should take away some of that damage, which Bone Dust Brew was basically just a damage cooldown in Mythic Plus, and give them more healing. And you know what? I'm fine with it. I think I'm over doing damage. Maybe it's not as good as I thought it was. And I think with all the damage patterns being so hard to heal, I think that was kind of like their signal to shut us up and say, hey, we want you guys to do healing. So maybe I'm fine with that. I don't know. We'll see. I like Bone Dust Brew. I think it's really cool to use, but if I want to use it, I can just go play Windwalker, I guess. But those are the changes they've announced. If you haven't heard about that, there is a blue post up, so I would go check those out. But yeah, overall, they are really messing up our class. A lot of small changes in what I think is the wrong direction, and I think it can be corrected. I think one of the ways is with this talent change, giving us basically a little mini cooldown, but like I said earlier, small cooldowns are not what we need. We need maybe one more big cooldown, make us feel like Disc Priest, where we have a couple big buttons to press. And I think that could be a step in the right direction. Also, if they just buffed our heals. I mean, you look at the healing meters, they nerfed us coming in. They took away the instant Vivify for sure, and they made it into a 10-second cooldown. And I think they were afraid of what we looked like on meters, but now looking, we are so far behind every other throughput class. I don't know what they were afraid of. I don't see how Instant Vivify always would have pushed us up there even to Resto Druid level, especially before they just got the buff that they got. But I don't know. I don't know what Blizzard has going on in their minds, but as one of the throughput specs, there's Pally, there's Resto Shaman technically, and what did I not say? And Disc Priest. All those are DR healers. They have a big AoE DR ability, and now you could technically say Druids are, because they give everyone versatility, but we're not really going to go that far. But we are basically one of the solely throughput healers. So we got Evokers, us, Resto Druid, and Holy Priest that only do throughput, only do healing. They just want to look big on charts, and that's all that we do. And we're the worst of that. I don't get how we're supposed to be the big throughput healer, and we are the worst. We are healing less than every single DR healer other than Disc Priest, and that's just, I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's how it should be. Yeah, I do think there should be healer tiers. There should always be one or two healers that are a little bit better than the other, but I think for the most part, we want them all on the same level, and something's got to change. They've got to buff us. They can't just do these little changes. They also have to look at how fun the spec is. I mean, all these nerfs were nerfs to things that were fun to play. So that's just my take on it. I think Blizzard is definitely in the right direction if you're looking at how to ruin a class. But if you agree or if you disagree, comment down below because I love this discussion. I've been thinking about it a lot, trying to think about what to talk about in this video. So I want to hear your guys' input, hear what you guys have to say and what you thought of what I had to say. If I missed anything or if I went too deep on something that's not that deep, let me know down below. But if you like this content, hit like. If you dislike it, hit dislike. Those metrics really help me know what you guys like and how you guys are feeling and how to make better videos for you guys. And 100% of you should be hitting subscribe. It is one click of a button, but it's the easiest investment. It helps me so much. I don't make money off of this, but I do it because I love it. And that subscribe button keeps me going. It makes me happy. So go ahead and hit that button. It's free to do so. And I will see you guys in the next video. Hopefully a more positive one. Hopefully there's some good news coming our way. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and good luck being Mistweavers. It is tough out there.